everyone. Welcome to the Zone to Speak podcast. I'm your host, Juliana. Hey, everyone. At Zone to Speak, I know how important it is to stay healthy, strong, and ready for every ride, workout, and adventure. That's why I'm sharing discounts on products I personally use and love. Each one designed to support your performance, recovery, and overall well-being. Whether you are a serious athlete or just trying to feel your best. And remember, every time you shop using these codes, you are directly supporting the podcast and helping me bring more great conversations to life. Psych Plus, their smart pump is a game changer. Light, compact, efficient, and perfect for keeping your tires road and gravel ready. It's also ideal for travel as you can skip the CO2 canisters. You can even change your tire pressure on the go when switching between surfaces. Get 10% off the smart pump and 5% everything else. 15% off down the road cycling gear, beautifully designed and performance-ready apparel. 15% off New Zest, clean, plant-based protein and essential nutrients to fuel your recovery and daily energy. 15% off Oleo's wellness shots, adaptogens, nootropics, and functional nutrients to support performance, focus, and recovery. I take Oleo's daily in the lead up to any of my races, and I have the pre-ride and recovery shots ready for the weekend's big training rides. If you're looking for a clean, effective boost, Oleo's is it. 10% off Cold Age. High-quality supplements, including multivitamins, collagen, creatine, and more. I take their women's fermented multivitamin and creatine daily. 10% off Loop ear plugs. Ideal for travel, sleep, sensory recovery, or managing noise at races. 10% off Clearly Not Coffee, a caffeine alternative made with mushrooms, cocoa, maca, and rhodiola. I use it every day for smoother energy, sharper focus, and better hormone balance. 10 pounds off Heal. Nutritionally complete, high-protein, plant-based meals for when you are on the go and need something quick, satisfying, and healthy. Also great to take bikepacking. 10 pounds off Shocks headphones. The safest way to listen while you train with open ear technology that keeps you alert and aware on the road or trail. 35% off Frey Skincare. Skincare made for active people. I have used Frey for 10 years, designed to keep sweaty skin clear, fresh, and glowing. You will find all the partner links, discount codes, and instructions in the episode description. So go check them out and enjoy these perks. Now, let's get into the episode. Welcome back to Zone to Speak. Today, I'm honored to chat with Ayesha McGowan, a trailblazing American cyclist, advocate, and community leader who made history in 2021 as the first African-American woman to become a professional road cyclist. Her journey began as a college commuter in Boston and evolved into a mission to diversify the sport. Aisha continues to redefine what's possible in cycling, not only by breaking barriers on the road, but by opening the doors for others. Her work through the Abundance Project, her blog, A Quick Brown Fox, and her presence in the sport are a powerful reminder that representation matters, and that community and purpose can be just as powerful as performance. In this episode, I will dive into Aisha's inspiring journey, the challenges she overcome, her vision for a more inclusive cycling community, and what she's up to now. Aisha, welcome to Zone to Speak.
Hi.
Hello. We met at Miles get-together. What's his? The cycling culture club. Yes. And I was like, I didn't want to be like total girl fan, but once we left, I'm like, was that Aisha? Was that Aisha? So I'm so glad we're in touch now. So tell me, what inspired you to transition from commuting by bike to pursuing a competitive racing career?
I think it was a long transition. It wasn't like an immediate thing. I commuted for a few years before I like found a more like underground community, and people were just doing all kinds of different things, and I was just interacting with bikes in as many ways as I could, and one of the options was competitively, and so that's kind of how that happened.
Very cool. Yeah, because a lot of people are just commuters. Like my dad is a huge cyclist, but only for commuting. And the bike for him is a means of transport. And when we ride together, he's always like, "Oh, you ride like a racer." And I'm like, "No, I don't." We're always chatting about that. But anyways, what are some of the pivotal moments that led to your historic achievement as the first African American woman in professional road cycling?
I don't know if there were so many pivotal moments. I think it was like just a collection of a lot of really small victories that
Steps.
led
Hmm.
to a big thing. I think, you know, doing my first race was obviously a big thing that led there, went really horribly, but made me want to do it more, which I always think is really strange that I had such a horrible experience, but the takeaway was that I wanted to do it again. But like in that horrible experience, I somehow like saw the potential of what fun could be. And I still think I was right. I've had a lot of fun racing bikes, and I think it's a great time. There's a lot of like scary aspects and a lot of less fun aspects to it. And training can be very grueling at times, but there's just nothing like it. And so I think there's just been a lot of really small moments that have led up to my success.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's not like an overnight thing. What happened on this horrible experience?
My first race was a fixed gear crit, the Red Hook crit,
Mm.
which they no longer hold, but I did it in Red Hook in 2014. It was the first year that they had a women's field. And so being an advocate for women in cycling and newly inspired to compete in that way, I felt like this is something that I just need to do. And so I signed up for it. And on the day, it was really cold and it was pouring rain. And I don't like either of those things at all.
Yeah, especially on
And
a
so,
grit course.
yeah, with no breaks. Yeah. So it's not
Yeah.
ideal. It's not an ideal situation. And I also had never raced a bike in that way before. And so I was just completely out of my depth and super overwhelmed. And they started the race and I didn't know what was going on. And I was moving forward in a very moderate pace and got lapped by the field. And there was a crash and
Oh
they had to stop
no.
the race. And I didn't want to go back out there. They neutralized it and they started it again. But I was like, that's
I'm
enough for day
I'm
one. we're gonna call it.
oh, yeah. I don't blame you. I did one crit race and it felt like an FTP test. It was a great experience, but I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I cannot do this. Even though it was so much fun, but it's full on crit racing.
Yeah, it's just VO2 max for however
Yeah.
long the race is. And so if you're not prepared for that, I guess I just didn't, I don't know what I thought I was signing up for, but I just had no idea what was going on. And they started and the women went, they just took off. And I was like, oh, okay. Noted for next time.
My race, there were barely any women, so they decided to put us with the man, but like not the top cat. So it was kind of fun. I was able to hang on with the guys. But for me, the biggest thing was that I'm terrible on turns and, there are no brakes. So I had to make those turns. So it was
It's
a
scary.
breakthrough. It's scary, but it was a breakthrough.
It,
I'm like, look at me. I'm doing I couldn't care where I was on the race. I was just like, I did the turns, no brakes.
hey, I mean, I feel like in those times when things aren't necessarily going your way, there's always something that you can take away from an experience. And so like with the
Yeah.
programs that I run, I'm giving women opportunity to try these criteriums, not the fixed gear ones, the road ones with brakes, and gears. I mean, if you do find yourself off the back of the race, it's a great time to practice cornering and a great time to practice all those little things that you just don't normally have the opportunity to do because how often are you training on a closed course? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's always something that you can can do and learn, even if things aren't going
Absolutely.
your way.
Absolutely. I agree. And I'm trying not to butcher the name here, but the pronunciation. You had an standout performance at the Tour Cyclist Feminine International, the Ardèche.
Ardèche,
Ardèche. Thank you.
those
How
French.
did, oh man, there are so many different accents here.
Uh-huh.
But thanks for keeping me honest. How did that experience influence your perspective in professional racing?
I mean, it was my first big road race in Europe. I'd done some kermesse racing in the Netherlands and Belgium a few years prior, but that was like really the first full on road race that I had ever done. And it was 7 stages, I believe. And then the 6th stage, I got on the breakaway and finished in the top 10. And that was a really cool experience for me because it made me understand that like everything that I had done up to then wasn't for nothing, that I was actually getting somewhere.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice feeling to be able to like hang in a European peloton. Like I feel like some people, they come to Europe and they try and it never quite clicks, but I feel like it clicked for me pretty quickly, and that was really cool.
Very cool. Yeah. It's like, okay, the work you put in started to pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what were some of the obstacles you had faced as a woman of color, predominantly in a white sport, and how you navigate them?
I think a lot of people never really took me seriously. I think a lot of people thought it was a charming idea that I wanted to do this thing, and it wasn't super well received that I was so vocal about exactly what I wanted to do, exactly what I was trying to do. I think a lot of people found that to be, I'm trying to find the right word, to maybe egotistical for me to think that this was something that I could accomplish. But I feel like for me, a large part of it was creating that representation that didn't exist. I thought it was ridiculous that I started racing in 2014 and there had never been an African American woman to be in the pro peloton. And so I, I, I wanted to point that out. I wanted to say like, hey, what is going on? Why is there so little diversity in this sport? So many people ride bikes. I mean, and they maybe ride bikes in a different way and not in a competitive racing type of way, but that doesn't mean that there's not a pool of people that would totally be interested in that if they were given access and resources and opportunities to do so. And I think for me, I felt alone a lot of the times. Like I had a lot of cheerleaders and a lot of support and a lot of community, but it was more outside of the space that I was actually trying to be a part of. I don't feel like I had a ton of support from within. And so it felt kind of like trudging through thick, muddy waters a lot of the time, but I figured it out. So
Well, I'm
it's,
glad you did. And it is mind blowing that 2021, which is like yesterday, it's when we had our first, African American in the peloton, pro peloton. It's crazy. And and talking about the sport in general, not just women, last year I was so happy, because I think it was the first Tour de France podium that we had, quote unquote, a rainbow. I loved it because you had Gourmet and Carapaz. So we had, Black and Latino, and it made me really, really happy. But that's just a fraction of the peloton, and the male peloton and the female peloton. It's starting now. And I'm Latina, and I'm starting to see some Latina. I had some conversations here too with Tata Magalhães, who is now in Movistar. Florence, she's from Uganda, but she's on the continental team. She's not on world tour yet, but hopefully we'll see more diversity. And what motivated you? I mean, I guess we know what motivated you, but to establish the Abundance Project, and what impact has it had so far?
so that project came kind of out of the pandemic. There was a lot of uproar after the murder of George Floyd, and just a lot of like pain and torment and talks about diversity and lack thereof. And I feel like there was just a huge focus on Black pain. And so I wanted to create something that was surrounding Black joy. And so I started what I called the Abundance Summit. And it was a virtual like conference, I guess, a virtual summit that like brought in like presenters in cycling and in cycling and outdoor space to just talk about Black joy and cycling in the outdoors. And so I used that as a fundraiser for this idea I had to send women to the Tour of America's Dairyland in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to try bike racing, to see if I can eliminate as many of the barriers as possible and, you know, see what happens when you do that. And so that first year we did the summit, we fundraised quite a bit of money, and then we sent 8 adult women and one 11-year-old girl to race bikes in Wisconsin.
Wow.
And it was a learning experience for everybody. Like, it was a learning experience for us on how to even run the program. It was a learning experience for the riders who were having this opportunity to race for the first time. And then it was also a learning experience for the community, the bike racing community, where it was like, okay, we've got way more women of color in our space than we're used to having. And like it led to some like interesting and a few unsavory interactions. But I think that exposure in both directions is super necessary. Like, we'll never diversify the sport if we don't diversify the sport. So everybody needs to learn how to like coexist in the space.
100%. And what a great idea, because I think, of course, we need to be aware of all the struggles, but it is a downer. And I think for us to also have a shift, we need to bring in this positivity. So the Abundance Project is a great idea, and not only bringing the joy, but also raising these funds to have more women attending different races or the race in Milwaukee, so we can have the representation there. What a great idea. And how about your blog, A Quick Brown Fox, which I love the name, serve as a platform for advocacy in cycling?
Yeah, I have neglected it for quite some time at this point. And, you know, every day I wake up and I'm like, I'm gonna write something. I'm gonna write something. And I still haven't written anything in a while. But I started it around the same time I decided I wanted to be a professional road racer, to document my journey and maybe have it serve as a resource for other people who decided they might want to go down the same road. And I also used it to be vocal about things that I wanted to talk about within the advocacy space, the lack of diversity, maybe some things that were happening in the cycling community that I feel like were going unsaid that needed to be said. And I feel like I've created some pretty good stuff there that has stood the test of time pretty well. So yeah, I feel like the past few years I've been experiencing quite a bit of burnout. And so I haven't really wanted to or had the capacity or energy to write anything in a while. But I'm starting to feel that
The burn
spark come
again
back a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe someday soon.
Well, like you said, it does stand the test of time, because I was, having a look at it, obviously, to research you a little bit more, and it stands beautifully as is. But of course, you'd be great if you reactivate.
Thank you.
And you talked a little bit about having a little bit of a burned out, and that's why you have neglected a little bit the blog. How do you balance your roles as an athlete, an advocate, and a community leader?
I don't think I do it very well. I think I've always struggled with balance. And I think if I focused on any one thing at a time, I'd probably be really great at it. But I've never done that. And so I've always split my time amongst many things, and something always suffers. So yeah, I don't think I have a great balance, if I'm being honest.
Well, and it's okay, being a jack of all trades, you have different projects, and I think it's totally okay to go with the flow and put your energy where your inspiration is that day or that phase. And I think you're doing well.
Thank you.
And where are you based these days? Are you here in Girona as well? And what does a typical day in your life look like right now?
I split my time between here and the States.
Okay.
I don't know that I have any typical days. Here in Spain, I'm usually taking the days pretty slow. I sleep in most of the time, go to bed pretty early, and just do some stuff in between. I ride my bike a lot. I've been running. I make content, do some work on the Abundance Project, prepare for like speaking engagements or whatever I'm getting into. But yeah, I take it pretty slow these days. I'm still kind of trying to figure out what exactly it is that I am doing and want to do. And then in the States, I feel like I'm kind of all over the place. I'm usually traveling a bunch, doing a bunch of speaking events or biking events or whatever. But I don't feel like I have a typical day. I think this summer I'm about to spend a month in America or 20 days, so almost a month in America, and kind of traveling around, doing stuff for the Abundance Project, visiting family. But then when I come back, I have finally a little bit of downtime, and then I'm going to ride all of the stages of the Tour de France Femme a few days before the professional peloton does it. And so I'm
Nice.
both looking forward to that and a little weary that it's going to be so hot and a little bit and a little miserable. But I think it'll still be a lot of fun. But I'm really glad I don't have to race it, because racing in that heat is brutal. So all the women are doing their heat training now, and I wish them the best.
Yeah, it's early June and it's already so hot
It
here.
is so hot. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of racing, what's your current relationship with racing now? Are you still actively competing, or your priorities have shifted?
In my head, I am fully retired. Sometimes I still have the bug that I want to compete, but then I'm like, I don't want to compete, or I don't want to train to compete. It takes a lot. It's
Yeah.
very demanding, and you can't do much else. And my body likes to rebel against me a lot. And so that's a big part of why I stopped. I had a lot of health issues, and that gets exhausting really fast. So yeah, I think right now my relationship with racing is that I am a fan of the sport.
And what type of health issues were you having when you were racing? Is that injuries, like overdoing it?
No, actually, I mean, most things are out of people's control, I guess, but it took me years to figure it out, but it turned out that I had uterine fibroids, which are masses in my uterus. And I had one that was so large that it was pressing against my intestines and basically blocking the pathway. So I couldn't eat
Wow.
anything. I couldn't poop. I couldn't exist or function. And it was horrible and impossible to live that way, let alone race bikes at a high level. I don't even know how I was doing it. Yeah, the doctors were not super happy with me, and I had to have a C-section, and that pretty much made it impossible for me to continue the way that I wanted to. I still haven't really recovered from that. It's really frustrating. And that was the big thing, really. I didn't really break anything or like injure anything. I don't crash very often, knock on wood, so that's good. I did recently break an ankle, completely unrelated, but not from biking and not from bike racing. So yeah, it was mostly the fibroids thing that made it just really hard to do anything, let alone race bikes.
I'm sure that was really tough, and not only physically but also emotionally, because not only because of the health issue, but also obviously it stops doing what you want to do, which is part of your identity. But I'm happy that you are healthy now and finding your way without racing, but it's still evolved. So it's great. And I saw you just had an amazing aggressive bike packing pace trip. You went from Basque Country to Girona.
Yeah. So the original plan was to ride from Bilbao to Girona. we ended up riding from Bilbao to Barcelona, which is very similar. We
Yeah.
just cut out a few mountains along the way on the last day.
Well,
The original route was
that's
supposed to
just a
go
few
up the
kilometers.
backside of Montseny and then the backside of Sant'Hilario and then descend back home. But it was so hot and we'd ridden for so long and so far that we decided to ride to Barcelona, which is also no small feat. And
Yeah.
then we took the train back up to Girona. But we did ride from one coast of Spain to the other.
Incredible. How many kilometers are that?
Ooh, I just looked this up and I don't remember. It was like,
It's what, 500, 700, something like that?
I think it was like 6 something.
Okay. So in the
Yeah.
middle.
Yeah, like 650 something, 650 something kilometers.
And a lot of climb. Yeah, I would love to do that, but maybe I'll take a week instead of 3 days like you did. Yeah.
I recommend taking a bit longer. It's a lot. It's a whole lot.
But it looked like you guys had a lot of fun. And even when you struggled, the stories were quite funny. So thanks for sharing that journey with us.
Yeah, of course.
Are there any other projects, collaborations, or creative pursuits you are currently excited about?
I don't really have anything specific that I'm working on. I'm just kind of like throwing stuff at the wall right now and kind of just experimenting and seeing what brings me joy these days. Yeah, it's a weird space to be in because I feel like I was so focused and had tunnel vision for this goal of being pro for quite some time, basically a decade or so. And it's weird not having a true direction. And so I'm like still figuring that out. Yeah.
And it's okay. And you have Live, right?
Yeah.
Live
so
is a wonderful brand for women.
Yeah, I work with Live Cycling. It's a women's specific cycling bike manufacturing brand within the Giant Group. And I work with SRAM and Zwift and a few other amazing companies that have supported me over the years and helped me get to the pro level. And so it's really a joy to still have those partnerships and like create content and, you know, kind of give back to the people that gave to me and maybe still encourage and inspire some folks along the way.
I'm sure you are, myself included. And I think that's why I mentioned the brands, because I think it's so nice. And it says a lot about the companies, because a lot of companies, once you have an injury, even they stop supporting you. So it's great that they're still supporting you and waiting for you to figure out what's your vision. And they want to, you know, they want this mission. They want also the diversity. That's what they're supporting, not just you. It's a bigger mission. So that's really great.
Mm-hmm.
And your vision for the future, what changes would you like to see in cycling, in the cycling industry, to promote a greater diversity and inclusion?
I honestly think it starts with the brands themselves and who they're hiring and who's working behind the scenes. I think people inherently gravitate towards the things they're familiar with, the things that they're comfortable with, the things that they're confident about. And if everybody is, frankly, if everyone is white, then they're familiar and comfortable and confident about other white people. So I think we need to hire a more diverse employee base in all of these companies across the board. And I think that would lead to a lot of changes in a very organic manner. And I think that's just a huge missed opportunity in the cycling industry right now.
Very true. And I never thought about that. That's true. If they start diversifying within the companies, it could be just an organic change. It's an evolution that it's needed. Yeah. And what advice do you have for young women of color aspiring to enter the world of competitive cycling?
If it's something that you really want to do, go for it. It's a lot of work. It's not always fun, but it can be a lot of fun and very rewarding. And don't let anyone tell you what you can't do, because if you are dedicated enough, then you can make it happen.
Absolutely. Aisha, thank you so much for your honesty, your energy, and everything you do to move this sport forward. I'm so happy you made the time to be on Zone to Speak.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And that's all for today's episode. I want to thank the listeners for tuning in. Your support means everything. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider following, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends.